Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. So I want to add some branding to the workshop, and what I've got is some of these LED strips that look like neon. Now I've gone for one that can be powered by USB. So what I thought I'd do is keep things simple and predictable and write the word Badger. Now I'm going to get a scrap of wood. I reckon that might be perfect. I think this will be about the right size with no cutting involved. I can always trim it down later. Now, I did think about printing off the word and tracing it on, but I think I'm just going to draw some lines and try and freehand it.
I was always terrible at handwriting at school, but I want this to be rustic and I have a feeling this neon stuff's going to be pretty forgiving. So I get it written out and it's not terrible.
So I'm trying to draw this in the best way possible with a few joins. Unfortunately, even though the word is joined up, it doesn't mean you can do this in one constant row as the actual line crosses over itself. I'm going to go over it all in Sharpie just to make it more obvious. To cut this out, I've got a spiral upcut bit which is 5mm, which seems the perfect size. So I'm going to get this mounted in the router and then give this a go.
So I got the board clamped down, plunged down the router and started to follow my line. I'm going down maybe 6 to 8mm and that seemed about right. I held the vac close and that did a pretty good job of keeping everything clear.
So that was all really quick to do. This little Bosch 12-volt router did a great job. I was worried it wouldn't have enough power, but it went through fine. Just holding the hose did a good job of clearing all the dust. Now, this is definitely not perfect. It's a little rustic, but luckily I like handmade things to look a little rustic, and this definitely is. I had one bit break out, but once I get the neon in, it's not going to be a problem. It's a little long at one end of this board, so I'm just going to grab the miter saw and chop that off. Now I want to get a border or a frame put around this, for two reasons. One, to make it look all pretty. The second, cables are going to be sticking out the back, so it won't be able to sit flush against something, so it needs to have a standoff. I'm going to get some scraps, cut on the miter saw to length. I'm not mitering the corners because I'm going to paint this so you'll never see the joint. Right, to attach the frame, first I'm going to stand this up on a couple of bits of 12mm ply, and that will give the step off I want. Then I can get these glued on and clamped up. The glue's dry, so now I can get all the clamps off. Now I need to get the cable snipped and fitted, so it has this switch on which I'm going to remove and reattach. So I can get it pushed into place, mark out how long it needs to be, and then it has these little dots on it where you can cut it. So I'm going to cut it on those marks and then use a knife to cut back and find the terminals. Now, I don't want to get all the bits confused, so with a Sharpie, I'm just going to label each one. The cables are going to need to poke through the back, so I'm just going to mark out where the holes need to go. I've got all the bits cut and I managed to do it in 6 pieces, so that means I'm going to need 6 holes drilled in this, so I can get that done now. The whole thing looks very scruffy at the moment, a bit of an old MDF with lots of markings on. So what I'm going to do is give it a coat or several coats with some matte black spray paint. So now 2 things have happened. The paint's dried on this and I've lost my voice, but we're going to crack on. So I've stripped the terminals off these LED strips, but now I need to solder on some wires. So I've got this thin gauge wire I can cut into little bits and strip off the ends. Now I've got myself a new soldering iron with a finer tip, and it's powered by USB, so I can just plug it into a battery bank. I'll put a link down to this below. So now it's just a question of soldering all these wires on.
So on the tools I use page link under this video, there'll be the soldering iron and that neon strip or LED strip that looks like neon. All the wires are on, but I want to protect them, so I'm just going to snip up some little bits of heat shrink, thread them on, and then use the soldering iron just to shrink them down. Now I can find the parts I've labelled, starting at the beginning obviously, and thread the wires through the hole and then get the neon strip poked into the groove I've cut. This is a really nice tight friction fit, so no kind of fixing or adhesive is going to be needed.
That's all the strips in. Now I've got a mess of wires at the back, so I'm going to get all the ones that are the same colour grouped together, apart from one I managed to get around the wrong way, but I put a bit of tape on to remind me, and I can get them put into some terminal blocks. Then I can get the USB lead put into the same terminal blocks and give it a test. So that's it all done. Pretty easy to do, and I'm pleased with how it turned out. So thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.